しょう作りましょうさてさて何ができるかな
Okay, so we're doing yakisoba today, and if you can't find yakisoba sauce at the store, then you can make some. And so starting out with half a teaspoon of oyster sauce, and then 1 to 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, and then 4 tablespoons of sugar. And I know that's a lot of sugar, but yakisoba is really pretty sweet, actually. You can add less sugar if you want to, but 4 tablespoons is the standard on that, I guess. Would be the word choice. And take your time mixing it in because you don't want it to get all clumpy. You want to get as integrated as possible with the rest of the sauce. You could even add all the liquid first if you wanted. Okay, so then 1 tablespoon of mirin. Give that another stir. A tablespoon of Worcestershire, which I always say weird. And then a tablespoon of sesame oil. And a pinch or so of red pepper flakes. You can add more if you want to. You could even add some ginger to this if you want. You could add some grated ginger. But I'm just doing a kind of a basic recipe. Okay, so then we're going to cut up some cabbage. And cut it in half first. Kind of. Okay. Set the other half aside. And first we're going to core it. So you're going to go at an angle. And then turn at the other angle. And then you just pull out that little triangle that you just cut. That's because that's the hard stem part of the cabbage, and you really don't want that in there at all. Now for the amount of sauce that I did there, that would be for 1 serving. So you would really only need 1/4 of a cabbage, but my sister asked for some yakisoba also to make sure I saved her some, so I'm going ahead and I am doubling the rest of the recipe, and I'm going to make more sauce later for that, but I didn't need to show you guys all that. Okay, so I'm just cutting up the whole cabbage here into strips like this. Okay, and try and get them in as even as possible. And watch your fingers, curl them back to your knuckles as you're holding it. And then you're gonna break them apart, kind of like that. Okay, and then we got a carrot. It's peeled, and I cut off the end there. And I have a little julienne tool. And then you could also use a peeler if you wanted, or you could just chop it. But I like to have everything in it kind of similar shapes and use my little julienne tool. And it has nice strips like that. And so I have all the strips, but they're still pretty long, so I'm just going to cut them in half. And have our water boiling here for our noodles. They are Yakisoba noodles. I don't know what's up with my camera. Also, the same noodles for making chow mein. And this recipe calls for 1.5 ounces, which would be half of one of the blocks. Just plop it in the water. Cook it for about 3 minutes or a little less. It doesn't need a whole lot of time to cook because egg noodles cook a lot faster than wheat noodles, and these are egg noodles. I'll go ahead and drain them. And my camera is slowly slipping to the side, and you can see more and more of the draining board and the pizza cutter. And just go ahead and rinse the noodles and use your hands, and you're going to rinse them until you no longer feel them being slippery. So you're just going to wash off some of the extra gluten and such, because you don't need any of that in your yakisoba. So just rinse it as best you can, and then you're just going to set that aside for the moment once you're done with that. It's really taking a while. They're really pretty slimy. I think I overcooked these a little bit actually, but that's okay, because I'm going to be the one eating this part. Okay, Just give them a good shake and then just set them down somewhere out of the way. I'm just going to leave them here in the sink. Okay, so then go to the pan. First thing we're going to do is we're going to cook the onions. And we're not sauteing the onions, we're just cooking them until they go translucent. If you're going to put meat in the yakisoba, you would actually cook the meat first and then set that aside, and then go ahead and cook the onions. So here they're all softened, nice and soft. And then because I'm adding carrots, I'm going to put the carrots in first by themselves, and then add some water to that after I mix them up. Because the carrots are thicker than the other veggies, so they need longer to cook. So we're going to put them in and then add the water. I'm going to let them steam by themselves for about 2 minutes or so. Okay, just put the lid on. And there we go. Alright, so now we're ready to add the rest of our veggies. And I have cabbage, and it really looks like a lot of cabbage, but it will cook down, but it is a lot of cabbage. So remember, I'm doing it for more than just one setting, so you only need 1/4 of a head, which will not be that much. And then I'm adding some bean sprouts because bean sprouts are delicious and they're about the same shape and size as everything else that's going to be going in here. And then add some more water, and then go ahead and set the lid back on. And just check on them every once in a while and give them a good stir, because now, see, they've cooked down a little bit, so now you can actually integrate these a bit more, mix them up. Because they don't all need to be in contact with the water because they're steaming, but you don't want to leave some on the bottom of the pan because you don't want to burn them or anything or get them way too soggy. Okay. A little bit more water, and then put the lid back on. My camera's acting funny today. Okay, so here I have it in a smaller pan so you can see just the 1 serving size instead of the giant one. And also there's quite a bit of water still in the pan I was using for the veggies. So instead of draining that whole thing, I'm just scooping some out and adding them to here, to this one as needed. So then just toss them with the noodles you've added to the pan's still on, just to mix them up until it's kind of even. And if you want more veggies, you can scoop more veggies in there than that. And here's the sauce. Just giving it another quick stir before you put it in so you don't have all the sugar at the bottom. And I actually added all of the sauce, and I probably shouldn't have. I probably should have only added about 5 tablespoons or so. Then you just mix it as best you can to make sure that the sauce gets coated, that the sauce coats all the noodles and all the veggies on here. And then when you're done mixing it, just turn it down onto low and let it simmer a bit so it can reduce and seep in. Now you can either just eat the noodles just straight like this, or you could make yakisoba pan and you could put it inside a hot dog bun, or I have here a roll, which I have cut a section out and then pressed it in. And then you just scoop the noodles and just stuff it inside. And you can either eat it plain like this, or you can put some mayonnaise on top, which I did not feel like trying that today. Maybe at another time, but not today. No mayonnaise on my noodles. Okay, you can put in as much noodles as you want to. You can either do just enough to fill it in, or you could really pile it on there. Depends on how much dexterity you think you have with eating a wet noodle bun. And there you go.